But you, the WBC, think that you better than everybody, don't you? So since you, the WBC, and you got the green belt, which don't mean it, real belt is the ring belt, which is free, motherfucker. What are you talking about?
You encounter the complexity behind this choice.
Yes, it's very sad. It is very complicated to have to vacate a title, to withdraw recognition of a champion hurts very deeply.
And this is what TKO is saying. Why do you have to pay them? Don't
Refuse to pay them. Ignore their unreasonable demands. Terrence Crawford calls for a WBC boycott following Shakur's title stripping and condemns the organization for its pompous attitude, inflexible regulations, and excessive financial demands.
$300,000. What makes you so motherfucking better than any other sanctioned bodies? Huh? To that question. What makes you better than the WBO, the IBF, or the WBA?
Terrence Crawford confronts Mauricio Suleiman, declaring he can claim the championship whenever he chooses, as Suleiman imposed a pointless $100K charge on Shakur. You can grab the damn championship. It's just hardware regardless. Mauricio Suleiman removed Shakur after previously stripping Terrence Crawford, alleging rule violations, missed payments, and consequent forfeiture of his WBC championship standing.
He won the WBC super lightweight, then he unified and became undisputed in welterweight against WBC champion, who was Spence, in a great fight. He petitioned to fight a final elimination bout in super welterweight against Madrimov and remained champion in welter. The WBC supported him. He did not comply with the rules. Then he moves up to super middle and makes the fight of the century, beats Canelo, makes $50 million or around that. The WBC absolutely is not going to charge 3% of such an amount. We made a very clear 0.6%, which is $300,000.
Shakur Stevenson posted on X, and I already compensated these people following my previous bout. Why am I handing you all $100K immediately? Since you all have issues with Bud, you're targeting me instead, demonstrating irritation at the persistent financial requests. Tarrant claims officials profit comfortably from fighters, while competitors endure physical damage, then must still cover pointless WBC authorization costs.
All that, you know, and guess who gotta pay for it? Us fighters. We paying for y'all to come out here, have the time of y'all life, stay in the best hotels of y'all life, and it's all done on our dime. It's done on our dime. Do that sound right to y'all? It's crazy, ain't it? We the one out there getting battered, knocked upside our head, and every time we step foot in the ring, we gotta pay them a sanction fee like they the government. We getting taxed. It's crazy.
Shakur Stevenson declared, $100K to corrupt individuals who don't merit it. No way, Lilani. I'd prefer giving it to you, sweetheart. The WBC had zero involvement with this bout, and it's consuming them internally. Keep your championship. It doesn't define me, displaying his anger. Roy Jones Jr. states, despite disagreements, stripping a champion's title remains unjust, disrespectful, and damages the organization's reputation.
It's something that a lot of people were really upset about. And
yeah,
you know,
I don't really want to get too deep into that. All I'm gonna say is it's wrong for him to be stripped if he didn't even defend the title.
Yeah.
That's all.
Chris Mannix harshly condemns the WBC for imposing outrageous fees on Shakur Stevenson, labeling it repulsive and unjust. He stresses that regardless of Shakur's earnings, the money belongs entirely to him and the organization lacks any ethical right to his income. Chris Mannix contends that today's sanctioning structure is inherently corrupt and shouldn't operate as it preys on fighters already confronting tremendous physical and psychological obstacles inside the ring. He highlights that athletes suffer punishment, face dangers, and commit their existence to boxing, yet face unnecessary financial burdens from governing organizations like the WBC. That remains absolutely corrupt
and shady as you can possibly get. And for the WBC to do this now, when sanctioning bodies are under attack, when the sanctioning system is under attack, this is a glaring example about why maybe they shouldn't exist. Maybe they shouldn't be in boxing if you are going to reach into the pocket of a fighter like Shakur Stevenson, ask for $100,000. According to Shakur, there's been no comment on this from the WBC. I asked for one. I talked to a member of their staff, said, tell me what's going on here. And all I've seen is the Instagram post of the WBC saying they were stripping him. To reach into the pocket of a fighter for a fight that you have nothing to do with and asking for $100,000. I don't care how much money Shakur Stevenson made that night. That's his money. That belongs in his pocket. The WBC had nothing to do with it. It is disgusting. Disgusting that they stripped Shakur Stevenson of that belt. And Shakur would be right to never fight for a WBC belt.
Continuously. The WBC initially sparked outrage with Terrence Crawford when he declined paying a $300,000 charge following his bout with Canelo Alvarez. Many believed Crawford had every right to refuse. He challenged why he should surrender such enormous amounts, noting that alternative sanctioning organizations like the IBF, WBA, and WBO never complained about his fee payments. For Crawford, those bodies simply took their portion without problems, exposing the random demands occasionally made by the WBC. Crawford stressed that his fight purses remained his personal matter, and that Mauricio Suleiman, the WBC president, lacked grounds for requesting extra compensation. Even when Crawford proposed the WBC receive the typical 3% of his earnings, they rejected it and insisted on a greater 6%, exceeding what alternative organizations demanded. Experts observed that beyond providing the belt, sanctioning organizations frequently offer minimal contribution to actual fights, making their steep fees dubious.
Not for me. I think Terrence Crawford's well within his rights to say that I ain't giving you $300,000. Why? Like, why am I giving you $300,000? What for? And don't talk about my purse. Like Mauricio Suleiman saying Terrence Crawford made 50 million. What's that got to do with you? No. And what I like as well about Terrence, he said, look, I gave the IBF money, I gave the WBA money, I gave the WBO money. We haven't heard any of those organizations moan about the amount Terrence Crawford gave to them. They're like, oh, we'll take it. Because ultimately, what are they doing? Apart from strapping a belt around your waist, what are they doing? And we'll get to that as well. So he then tried to give the WBC that amount of money as well. They clearly said, no, we're not taking that. We want a bit more. And then they're like, okay, normally we take 3%, but 3% of 50 million would have been too much. So you know what? We'll give you, we'll allow you to pay us 0.6%.
Shakur Stevenson stays unbeaten, and nobody has claimed his championship through combat. Nevertheless, the WBC announced his title empty after his weight class change, asserting his departure left a gap in the division. This ruling enabled fresh challengers to pursue the belt despite Stevenson never losing it. The difference matters significantly. The championship was relinquished through paperwork, not through loss. Stevenson's professional journey continues strong, as this represented a procedural or administrative move, not a judgment of his abilities or achievements. Examining the evidence reveals that Stevenson's accomplishments remain untouched by the WBC's ruling, and his perfect record continues establishing him as among boxing's premier competitors.
Can be ruled inactive at that weight class. So, despite nobody beating Shakur Stevenson, he is an undefeated fighter. Nobody took his belt, but for whatever reason, the WBC has decided him moving up has created some type of void and have now made and declared his title vacant, allowing the division to successfully move forward with new contenders. So in this case, Stevenson, he didn't lose his belt in the ring. Nobody beat him. He's still undefeated. The title was vacated administratively, which is a difference. And we need to establish the facts from the fiction. So nobody beat Stevenson. It doesn't really hurt his career, his official box rec. And it says he's suspended by the commission indefinitely. So I'm not sure if he has some type of injury, but usually when it says indefinitely, they got to get clearance from a doctor to come back. And again, this could be possibly from his fight with Shakur Stevenson. So this is a developing story, and we'll see ultimately how it plays out, what the WBC officially decides to do in terms of who's next and what's next. So what are the facts? What does this mean? Shakur Stevenson was not stripped for any type of misconduct. Shakur was not penalized per se, and Shakur Stevenson is not suspended. So it simply reflects the WBC has considered him no longer active at lightweight at this time. A bit political. That's the only thing that I can think of that fits.
Expert Oladipo views the WBC's choice to remove Shakur Stevenson of his 35-pound championship as strange and debatable. Stevenson, a perfect fighter, had clearly stated his plan to advance weight classes and pause briefly, but intended returning to the 35-pound category. Despite this, the WBC announced his title empty, arguing that his division absence created a vacuum and permitted new challengers to pursue the belt. Oladipo observes that the circumstances expose the WBC's occasionally inflexible and administrative methodology. Although Stevenson's recent bout wasn't for the WBC, the organization's regulations demanded he pay 50% of the sanctioning charge, as though it involved a title defense.
All right, Shakur Stevenson BLASTS WBC and responds to being stripped of a 135-pound title. This is a bit wild. It's a bit wild, and the reason it's a bit wild, so many different reasons actually, but one of the biggest reasons is that Shakur has always said, I want to go up to fight Tio, but I want to come back down to 135. So basically, he's almost telling the WBC, let me go up there, I will come back down. And with what the WBC are going through right now, and this battle with Zuffa, where, you know, they've got some real big players and power over there, and they're saying F the belts, and WBC are fighting, saying no, the belts mean stuff. The last thing you want to do is have a public spat, a public back and forth with one of the biggest names in boxing right now. Now, Shakur Stevenson is one of the biggest names in boxing. And the thing about Shakur as well, you piss him off, this guy will go straight to social media and make it known that he's pissed off, and that's what he's done.
The expert considers this rule extreme, especially since Stevenson never lost his championship through fighting. Oladipo additionally notes that the WBC's treatment of Stevenson resembles previous disputes with other competitors, illustrating how sanctioning charges and administrative decisions can generate conflict between champions and the organization. Finally, Stevenson's professional path stays solid, as the administrative removal doesn't impact his undefeated status. However, it creates concerns about the equity and openness of sanctioning organization policies.
Or wanted for him, or from him, sorry, which was $100,000. Now, a lot of you might say, well, one second, his last fight wasn't for the WBC, it was for the WBO and the ring title. Why did the WBC want any money from him? The WBC have a clause, I think it's either 7.3 or 7.4, yeah, where even if you do not fight for the WBC belt, if you're a champion of their belt, i.e. which Shakur Stevenson was, you have to pay 50% of the sanctioning fee as though the WBC belt was on the line. Does that make sense? Let me see if I can find it. I'm going to find it and read it out to so I'm not paraphrasing, because this is quite important and I think it's a joke. I think it's a joke. I really do. All right. Okay, yeah. All right, rule 7.3. I'm going to put this on the screen as well.
Experts observe that Shakur Stevenson has clearly established himself as a 35-pound competitor. He has increased weight solely for strategic bouts, recently defeating former unified lightweight and WBO junior welterweight title holder Teofimo Lopez convincingly. Stevenson currently holds a record of 22 victories, 0 defeats, and no ties, with 13 wins by knockout. Despite his transparency, the WBC moved quickly in removing his 35-pound championship, demonstrating minimal tolerance for his decision timeline. Stevenson consistently conveyed his intention to compete at 35 pounds, except when exceptional chances emerge.
Shakur Stevenson made it abundantly clear that he's a 135-pounder. He's going up in weight just for situational fights. He just defeated 2-division world champion, former unified lightweight, and now former WBO junior welterweight superstar, Teofimo Lopez, in dominating fashion. He's now 22 wins, 2 losses, no draws, 13 wins by way of knockout. After a beautiful performance, a dominating performance, the WBC, in a rush to do nothing,
He has additionally shown readiness to face Lamont Roach, whom the WBC promoted to the second position at 35 pounds. Never has Stevenson suggested plans to stay at 140 pounds indefinitely. Experts stress that the WBC's hurried administrative decisions ignored Stevenson's intentions, and his perfect standing creating doubts about the organization's judgment and fighter treatment.
On what he wants to do next. This dude, Shakur, has told the world, I'm 135 pounds. I plan on competing at 135 unless there's a situation that presents itself. You got Lamont Roach, who you elevated to the number 2 fighter in the WBC at 135. Right? Shakur says yesterday, I'm willing to fight Lamont Roach. We're going to make it happen. Right?
From an expert's perspective, Shakur Stevenson advancing to the 40-pound category generates significantly more thrilling possibilities for boxing. Although he could drop back to 35 pounds, that route appears less captivating after his commanding win over former 2-division title holder Teofimo Lopez. Experts believe that the WBO championship and the lineage title he currently possesses hold greater importance at 140 pounds than at his previous weight. Fighting in this category creates potential elite matchups, including a possible confrontation against WBO welterweight champion Devon Haney, which might become one of boxing's most exciting fights. The 40-pound division also features other premier fighters commonly considered part of boxing's top tier, offering Stevenson significant and competitive battles that elevate both his career and the sport.
Have Shakur Stevenson in the 140-pound division. I think there's more attractive fights in the 140-pound division, because if he would have gone back to the lightweight division, Muay Thai will probably be the most intriguing matchup, and I don't know if after beating Teofimo Lopez, that I think that would have been going backwards. I believe that the WBO strap that he got right now and the lineage title that he got on is more valuable in the 140-pound division than going back to the 135-pound division. You know what I'm saying? Because I think that he could also petition to beat the WBO mandatory to the welterweight champion in the WBO in Devin the Dream Haney. I think that would be an attractive matchup in 2026 following that type of performance versus Teofimo Lopez.
Although Keyshawn Davis presently occupies the WBO mandatory spot at 40 pounds, a contest with Stevenson seems improbable, demonstrating the challenges of mandatory requirements versus appealing matchups. Overall, experts recommend that Stevenson's transition to 40 pounds strengthens his legacy, places him in position for greater challenges, and generates more compelling matches for audiences, while preserving his reputation as one of boxing's elite, undefeated competitors.
Those are the four kings, the Fab Five, whatever you want to call it, and I think that's just better for the sport of boxing. That's better for Shakur Stevenson, and I think that's a very winnable fight right there. We know that Keyshawn Davis is in WBO mandatory position right now in the 140-pound division, but we all know that they're not going to fight. So, we all could keep on asking Keyshawn and Shakur, when you going to fight? Are you going to fight? Both of these guys already saying they're never going to fight again. So, Keyshawn Davis is going to be moving up to the 147-pound division, right? So, unless that Tank was active at 135, that's the only fight that the world want to see at 135 is Shakur versus Tank. We're not gonna see Kid Austin versus Shakur Stevenson at 135. That Shakur, the Kid Austin, he lost that opportunity.
That concludes today's content. Keep watching until our next episode.